So yesterday we have discussed on the board of directors, and we need to start with the risk today. Before starting risk, I was telling you guys, if you can find out what can be the two other NEDs we can add to our board to balance it. And is there anything like in executive directors also, basically how we can improve the effectiveness of our board. So did you guys got any point on that? So we can quickly discuss and start with the risk. I think Sham, you said you got on something on this. Sham and Fahim.
Yeah,
Yep.
the risk. I mainly think about the risk director because the industry is the Rotomyne is doing the mining activity. Therefore, this industry involve a lot of risk. Therefore, we can keep it risk director and who's coming from the good background. Better to avoid the company reputation in the future. The one other one, I think about the internal audit, setting up the storage facilities and because the logistic when you move, this is lithium product. Therefore, we have to make the internal control properly, and we have to keep internal control department. For that, we have to find one director who have the good experience for this related field. This is my thinking.
So you want a risk executive director or a non-executive director?
Executive director within the company who can do the activities.
You want an executive.
Yeah.
So it will again imbalance the board more. What do you think about that?
That's also right, but non-executive director is not going to involve the company directly, no, because they are outside the executive things. Therefore, if the risk kind of things, better to keep the people who's inactive in the companies.
Okay.
Rather than the balancing, we can think about the company reputation in future. I don't know. I'm thinking this way.
I mean, there is nothing wrong. We just have to justify. And how we'll manage the imbalance?
Imbalance already 6-3. No, if I include this two, this 7-3, then again it's a problem. Yes. Otherwise, we have to find an non-executive director as well, one more to balance it. Cost will be increased another side if you say. Better to take one executive and non-executive. Executive director, risk management director is executive one, and the internal control director is non-executive.
Internal control? I didn't get it.
I mean the internal audit.
It's not internal audit. We need non-executive for audit committee. Internal audit, they have not disclosed it in-house or external.
Okay.
Anyways, we have not discussed P3, so some knowledge gap should be there. We'll be discussing it after the pre-scene. No problem.
Okay.
I got your point, what you're trying to say. You want to balance the audit committee and you want somebody from the risk. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
got it. Sham, what's your
Yeah.
point on this?
Uh, so actually, I'm thinking that so there is nobody who's handling say legal and then sustainability and the operations, right? So my point here is to have somebody heading the legal, so he can um be a director, right? And then having somebody with experience, say in finance, and then somebody having experience in say the sustainability and the operations, be they can be hired as say non-executive directors, so that will bring a bit of balance, right? So finance guy, so will be heading, he'll be part of the audit committee as well, right? And then also he can also overlook into the legal thing as well, right? So considering the mining operations, and then considering our company Rotomyne is having operations in two of the underdeveloped countries, right? So there can be issues which are related to legal, right? So it is better to have somebody heading the legal as well. And also to back that, so we should have somebody in the non-executive director's position as well to overlook into this.
So for legal, we already have our chairperson, right?
Uh, yeah, the chairperson we have, but legal when it comes to say the day-to-day operations, right? So we need somebody to handle it. So the chair is, I think, what is independent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, non-executive chair. So he cannot say like get directly involved in the day-to-day legal. Um,
You need an executive director from legal
hmm.
background.
Yeah.
So again, affecting the balance of the board.
One executive director, and then non-executive director, say two non-executive directors, one from the finance background and one having rich experience in sustainability and all. And one more thing I noticed is the non-executive directors, right? So even including the chair, so they don't have experience in the industry, right? Because when I was looking at the real companies, right, the Albemarle and then one more company, so they have people heading their board, means people like the chair of the board and then many non-executive directors. So they are having more than like 30 years of 40 years of experience in mining industries or say related industries,
Right.
but I don't find them in the current board composition.
That's true. So we are lacking in that actually.
Yes. So my thinking was that because of that, right, so decision making may get delayed, right? And then so though we have chief executive officer who is having good amount of experience in the same company, right, she will not be able to influence much to take any decisions, right? So which will require the board approval.
Yes, that's true. So the board doesn't look effective as saying, we are the top, one of the top
Mm.
company in the world. And if you look at the expertise and experience of the board, definitely I agree with that point.
Yeah, and even when we look at the overall composition, right? So only the chief executive officer seems to be having good amount of experience in the company as well as from the industry perspective, but others are from different kind of industries, right? And they have very less amount of experience when it comes to the mining.
All right.
Misbah, I have one question.
Yes, Dikshita.
Yeah, I was just reading this board of directors thing. Can we have someone from environment background as our NED? Because as I was reading, no, the Caroline is having export like responsibilities regarding health and safety, but nothing is particularly mentioned about the environmental part, like which will be affected to the nature or something related to it. So, can we bring with someone who has expertise regarding towards who have like environmental background knowledge?
Okay. Dikshita, I think we have one, right? So this guy Pierre Force here, so senior independent director. So his previous role was with Ministry for Industry on development of environmental legislation. So I think that covers your point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Got it. I missed that one. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. No, okay.
Mega, what do you think about that? Mm. Did you do some research on that?
Yeah, that means I think most of the point are covered already. So, like erase is a means from a legal background. So, from legal point of view, erase is there, but he is not having that much experience in the similar kind of industry. He is from law firm, so he's not having that much experience in the similar industry or company. Um that is the weakness of our chairperson, and he is from outside of uh, not within the company. He is from out less experience, means very less span of time in our company. So that also the negative point.
Right. So they'll not understand the culture you're trying to say.
Yeah. So most of the member are not from not having that much experience in our company. So so they are not well aware of company culture.
So how we can solve that problem?
If we are if we are increasing our board member, then we have to look from within the company, if it is possible.
For the executive, you are saying we should prefer someone from the company.
Yeah, as risk director, as someone has suggested that a risk director should be appointed. So that person should be within the company if possible.
અરે આપણે બહાર જવું છે તો અહીંયા આ બાજુમાં જે વાળેશ્વર છે અહીંયા ચાલશો.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, Sohail.
Misbah,
Yeah, Sham.
Misbah, sorry, one point. So how about
Hello, Misbah.
ત્યાં વડું ખાઈ લેજો વડું.
hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, Misbah, so how about like having somebody from the same industry, right, in the non-executive director? So that will also bring more balance. So not only somebody say from finance and then the legal background, but having somebody from the same industry is much needed.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we can get somebody from the same industry and who is from the finance. Let's say any day who was a finance director of other lithium mining company. Isn't it? We can have
Yeah.
best of both. Finance plus the industry. Because one weakness, as all of you have noted, and it's obvious that we are lacking people from the same industry, the experience.
Yep.
Yeah, Sohail,
Yes,
Sohail, can
Misbah.
you talk now? Yeah, yesterday, I think you were not able to speak because you're at work.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
question was, we are not balanced in the boards. I was asking what skills we need, what can be added to the board of director. What is your point on that?
Um.
Have you done some research? Did you get time to read?
Sorry, since yesterday I didn't get much.
Okay, no problem. You can do it today after the class.
Okay.
All right, guys. So we can continue with the risk. We'll come back to it because
We were supposed to find out why most of the member was promoted in 2022 only, where the share price has been decreased.
right. So I mean, we have to we have kind of trying to understand. I mean, we cannot obviously see directly. One of the reason maybe there was some fraud or there is some issue. If you see in 2022 that share price went down, we can just make
But
some guesses, or we need to see if something happened in the industry that time globally. We can compare with the other companies. So we'll come back to it once we are
okay,
discussing the share price.
okay.
Um, Misbah, sorry, I have a point here. So I was going through some videos, right? So in that, one of the point was mentioned about is drop in lithium prices in the previous year. So so that has led to I would say drop in the share price. So the reason is, so there were a lot of new entrants, especially from China, so who produce lot of lithium. So because of that, the prices came down drastically in the previous year. Right. So I think that's one of the reason. And yeah, and Ms. I shared one article in the group, right? So where a company by name Arcadium Lithium is being acquired by Rio Tinto. So right now, I think so since the share price is very low compared to what it was previously, so there can be threat of getting acquired by some other how to say bigger companies who are in say different industries. It's happening with that company Arcadium in the real world, right? So they are paying premium of say 90% to their current share price, but I think even that will not match with whatever the share price was like previously some in a year back, right? So that is one of the threat for the company, I think.
So,
Right.
Shyam, my question is that China, what you have mentioned, that is mentioned in pre-sale, or you
No,
have.
no, no, not in the pre-scene. So that's from the real world.
So,
So it's like happening.
Misbah, means while writing the answer, should we consider the real world, or should we consider only the pre-seen? Means,
So basically, we have to assume that now Rotomyne is part of the real world. So if you're talking something about the industry, you can consider the real world. If you're talking about the companies, I mean, our company's fact, like the directors, the risk they have given and all, we have to consider internal. So ideally, our answer will be mix of both.
okay.
All right. So we are starting with risk now. Again, this is a part of P3. The plan is once the pre-scene is done, we'll start with the risk. Okay, P3. Okay, and another assignment we need to do is uh, we have a plan that will find out at least 50 risks for Rotomine and its mitigation. Okay, including what they have given some of the principal risk here, but we'll go beyond that and find some risk. I'll share some file to you. It will give you an idea what kind of risk I am talking about. Some risk are perceived risk which we can have in the future. Some risk like we already have. One of the risk is like imbalance board. It can affect our reputation, and one risk can lead to another risk. So we'll make a column like say a risk, let's say reputation risk, coming from where, then likelihood and impact, and how to mitigate that. So we have to do that for all 50 risks, and everyone should try to make their own risk list. Obviously, you can take risk from the principal risk. Some of them will repeat, obviously, but try to do on your own. You can try to finish it by next weekend. Okay, by next Sunday, let's say. Definitely, it will help in the answer, and there is high chance some question will repeat from there itself, and it will give us a better idea. For example, yesterday we were discussing about product development, right? So every product development or market development also, if you consider, it will have certain risk. Then how to mitigate that risk? I've seen in past like what CIMA says it. They'll say, let's say about the acquisition, and the second question following it can be about finance or can be the issues related to that. So by issues, they are kind of relating to the risk related to that. So if we know the risks beforehand, if we know the mitigation beforehand, it will be very easy. So our plan is once you go to the exam, at least 80-90% of the question is like, I expected that. We have discussed in the class and I know the answer also. Then it will be very easy for us to score good marks. And our understanding of the pre-scene will also be very good. All right. So now also we'll be discussing the risk and the mitigation. Apart from this mitigation, you guys can say what you feel like, what can be the mitigation. Whatever it comes to your mind. It's not about being right and wrong. I just want more and more conversation in the class. All right. So some of the principal risk. First is market price of lithium compounds are volatile. It's a very important risk actually. Prices are affected by demand from industries such as vehicle manufacturing and consumer electronics. Prices are also affected by the supply of lithium as determined by the actions of major producer including Rotomyne. So basically here Porter's five forces: power of suppliers, power of buyer. Supply and demand is the one which is setting up the price. However, another thing that is not mentioned here is the government policies. The government being the most powerful stakeholder in the ecosystem, their policies, regulations can also affect the price. And if the price is volatile, that means our income and expenses are not fixed. Managing the working capital can be difficult. We have to take care of investment, financing, dividend, all of those. Our financial strategy, everything will get affected because of this. So let's see what Rotomyne is doing now and how we can improve it more. Rotomyne pays close attention to movement in the market for lithium. The company aims to be responsive to emerging markets changes by managing production levels in responses to commodity price and value of demand. So basically, we have a team which is focusing on, we are maybe kind of forecasting also, because paying close attention is not just watching, we have to be proactive. Rotomine maintains close relationship with customers, offering reliable supply of good quality lithium. So we are maintaining close relationship. That means if there is something with the price, they will not switch the client immediately. So relationship management is very important. What else can be done? I believe it's very minimum in the mitigation. What do you think? What about the treasury department? What about the hedging techniques? Because if it is something with the prices, think from financial angle.
We can also keep close watch on the cost. Can we do some cost cutting also to bring the big margin?
Mhm.
Is there any way to do the cost cutting?
I mean, cost cutting, yeah, there can be ways. But the question here is different. You're talking about the price volatility of lithium. It's about our end product. It's more external. You're looking at an external risk now. Cost cutting and everything, it's internal. That we can do through efficiency.
Can we do like research, like, hello?
Yes, Dikshita.
Yeah, can we do like, since we are in a market for a really long time, so we can study the market, try studying the market like previous market, and get to know that like from past trends that this is the minimum supply which we might require because of the situation. Like with the help of R, can we come to a conclusion like, okay, in the next quarter, this might be our minimum requirement of supply so that we can at least be available in the market for the goods, like we might be available to supply the product at the same time we might not be losing on the cost also, like.
I got your point. So basically, from an experience, we might have generated a lot of data. If some
Yeah,
fluctuations happen in the market, so we know what one thing lead to another.
correct.
And by using that, we can be a little proactive with us and manage that risk. Okay, makes sense.
Yes.
That's a good point.
So one point would be to manage the prices, right? So it is better to have fixed price contracts with our customers, right? And then also to hedge those contracts in the future markets. So that's how we can like hedge out any like volatility. So I think that's
Yeah,
Rotomyne is
forward
doing
contracts and
already.
all different
Yes.
hedging techniques we
Yeah.
can use.
Yes.
Forward
Yeah. I think
contract,
what.
future
Yeah.
contract, all of this.
Yeah. Correct. So, but I think Rotomyne is doing it already. So it was mentioned in the pre-scene. But I think the one advantage what company would be having here is since the CFO is having experience in one of the trading companies earlier, right? So company can manage this risk more effectively.
Right. I mean, they have mentioned they are doing, but not here in the risk management. I don't know why they have not mentioned.
Mm, yeah.
Okay, next one. Future production levels are constrained by the availability of exploitable resources in Rotomyne's hard rock and brine mines. So basically, availability of this is very difficult. We might have to go in different corners of the world to find that. Okay, it may prove impossible to expand production through the acquisition of commercially viable mines with permission for mining operations. So first is finding it. Second is the legal part of it, the uh, license and all of those. So what we are doing, Rotomine employs experienced and highly qualified professionals to monitor reserves in existing mines and to research for any viable potential acquisition that become available. Then for second, Rotomine aims to minimize the environmental impact of its existing mines so that our uh, permission is not taken away. First thing is we are dependent on the professionals. Now how effective it is and what level of technology we are using. Because many times what happened that they will drill it. Even yesterday I was doing some research. I found out many times we'll drill it and go there and we'll find that there is nothing, or it is not something we are looking for. The quality itself is not satisfactory. So the entire setup and everything will go for a waste. And it's a kind of inherent risk in the business. Is there any way we can try to minimize this?
Instead of doing drill, through R&D we should have to find out the new way of finding mm, the is it lithium is there or not. Not only drilling is the one way. Through R&D we should find out another way to find the lithium.
There should be some better ways. We should do better research, I think. Recently, I think in some another part of India last year or something, they found something. Was it related to lithium or some other thing? So usually they are searching, and most of them are government controlled. The government obviously will be the first owner. Now, will they give us license or will they? It's only license for extraction, or we will be the owner of the mine as well, or we need to do a JV with the government. I think a lot of places we need to be open to do a joint venture with the government. Then only we can get the permission, especially with the second one when they say viable mines and the permission. And obviously we have to look for opportunities how we can reduce the environmental impact. Yeah, Dikshita, you are saying something?
Yeah, like instead of just depending upon the profession, recent as we have like so much developed technology in the world, can't we bring in something which is technology based so that instead of doing so much work and getting to the result, there might be something or some other technique which will be at least giving us the information beforehand that whether it is worth doing that project in that particular area or not.
Yeah, we have to find some smarter approaches.
Uh,
I mean, it's obvious, and I believe all the
yeah,
companies are already doing it. But try to do even
yeah.
more. Like we for sea, they use some technology like sonar, to find some what's there down. So maybe do some more
Misbah, your
research.
voice is blocking.
Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah.
I was saying they have some
Yes,
technology
yes,
they
yes.
use in
Yeah.
the sea, like sonar or something. So we have to not just depend on the traditional methods, but try to find new methods or new technologies how we can use that.
Yeah, correct.
Next is future production levels are constrained by the availability of exploitable reserves in rotomines, hard rock, and brine mines. Again, it is a little bit similar to the previous one. It may prove impossible to expand production through the acquisition of commercial viable. Sorry, this we have discussed. Lithium mining and the manufacture and sale of lithium products are controlled by strict environmental regulations that can constrain operations and attract penalties if breached. One thing is for sure in this business, if you want to exist and excel, we need to have good relationship with the government. Not only, I mean, especially the government where we are extracting this, and also in other areas where we are selling this. So overall, good relationship with the government at the international level is also very important. We might have to do a lobbying, and one of the options we can do is we can get a new NED who is from government, who was a minister or member of parliament, like that. We
But
have got
Misbah, we already have one. Sorry,
because
sorry, Misbah.
that person, what you're saying, we already have one, right? That person was working with the government as an employee. That person was not like a politician or something.
Okay. But in the real world, Misbah, do companies have somebody like who is a politician or say like ex-politician in the board?
Yes, they do have. Actually, for example, Reliance will take a lot of people like that, and even the civil servants who work as a very top level with the government, like a secretary and all. Once they
Yeah,
retire,
they,
companies are waiting for them to join as non-executive directors because
yes, they
they
do,
know how
but
it
they're
works.
not.
Plus,
Yeah,
they can
but they're
influence.
not politicians, right, Misbah? So that was my point. So
Yeah, I
agree.
mean,
So
secretaries are there, and the politician
mm,
also is there.
okay.
Both of them. Because these government secretaries are working closely with the government, they know how the government works and how they can influence it. And at the same time, ex-ministers and everyone is also invited to be as a non-executive directors. Ex-politicians are also there. Or a company can decide to uh, put their own candidate also, but that will be an ethical issue if they are doing it indirectly. Because in almost every country in the world, business give money to the political parties, and obviously they are doing it for their own benefit. They need something in return.
Mhm. Okay.
So we can have an ex-minister to work with us. Okay. Rotomyne complies fully with all relevant regulations. In many cases, it exceeds local regulations by complying with the strictest requirements on a global basis. So usually, what companies do if they're operating in different countries, so they'll benchmark with the country which has the highest regulation. If they follow that, it will be easier for them to be under regulation for countries which has little bit of easier thing. But I think I need your points also on that, your suggestions. But main thing is about the cost. How much tax is going to the government? Which government is actually getting the tax? Who is getting the benefit? Because if you are just saying about the EV and automobile industry, it's very much what I should say segregated, because everyone is kind of contributing in that. It's one of the most complex thing to manufacture an automobile or a car. Because it requires a lot of expertise coming from different sectors. So who is actually getting the tax money? That will be the concern of the government. So CSR activities, working closely on the government policies. We can even sponsor government events.
And Misbah, in one of the videos, it was mentioned that in Chile, right? So they produce like 1/3 of the global lithium. So there, the companies, so they have to pay some royalty to the government, right? And then government can like increase that royalty as per their requirement. So that's all. Like companies are also, sorry, governments are also benefiting from these mining companies.
Government should benefit. If government is
Yeah.
not benefiting, then they will
Mhm.
not allow us to work.
Yeah. No, apart from the taxes, right? So they also get this royalty from the mining companies. So that was my point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can give royalty, and we can, best thing is to make government a partner, a minority partner.
Mhm. Yes. Right.
So they have to
Because
support us.
Mhm. Yeah, so, yeah, because I think there will be this pressure, right, from the government, so they can take over these mines at any point of time, right? So if there are any changes in the governments, right, so they can nationalize these mines, right? So it is better to have some tie-up with the governments. I think that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. But the only problem is they should be kind of in minority. If they have too much interest, then they will be controlling the business.
Yeah.
There is also a problem. And government is non for profit. We are for profit. We have shareholders who are waiting for us to earn profits for them. Government doesn't have shareholders. So two organization, one is for profit and one is another non for profit, doing or having an equal stake can be a problem because decisions will be conflicting. Okay. Then lithium is mined and sold worldwide. Rotomyne has mines in 6 different countries and makes sales to customers based in 90 countries. Exchange rate fluctuations affect cost and revenues. Again, you can write it down. This is one of the important question. After environment, I believe currency risk can be an important question for you in the exam. Something related to forex. Okay. Rotomyne has in-house treasury team that monitors exchange rate risk and acts accordingly to ensure that risks are managed. That's what they are doing primarily. But I'm sure there are a lot of things that we can do here. What do you think? What are other options we have?
Uh, Ask to invoice in domestic currency.
Ask everyone to do in our local currency.
Invoice, yeah, in our local currency. One way of,
Yeah. Okay. What else?
or we can do different contracts, future forward contract too. And netting is one of the way to minimize the currency risk.
Netting options. Okay.
Okay. And having say assets and liabilities in the same currencies,
That's a good point. Yes.
and also probably like raising debt from the from the countries, or say like the subsidiaries where um,
Locally.
say locally, yeah, correct. So otherwise where the corporate tax is high, right? So thereby company can benefit by what is it, the tax benefit on the interest. It was company can gain from that one.
Right. But if we ask them to do transaction in our currency, I think it will be difficult. And being such a multinational and global, almost global, we can deal in US dollar, maybe because more stable, or maybe some currency which is more stable. But usually US dollar is considered the best. And as per a lot of policies, international policies also, we have to deal in US dollar. And that is one of the most stable currency. So what we have to do here is we have to take the options, then we have to discuss the advantage and disadvantage of each options. Then we might have to recommend one if that question actually comes in the exam. We'll do one question on that, okay? Moving on. Rotomyne's mining operations are located in 6 countries, which vary in terms of the stability and the integrity of their governments. 2 of the company's mines are located in countries that suffer from political instability. So any government which has political instability, usually the businesses have to suffer. Suffer as in, let's say one business is focusing on, supporting the foreign businesses because they are giving employment. At the same time, other government will be like, we have to just support local businesses. So what we're doing, Rotomyne takes care to comply with all local regulations in the countries in which it operates. The company maintains close relation with host governments, enduring to promote the benefit of its operation in terms of providing employment and foreign trade. Basically, we have to see how we are benefiting them. Technically, they'll be looking at their benefit first, right? What are the ways we can benefit to the local government apart from giving jobs?
Corporate income tax.
Obviously, we have to pay corporate income tax. We can pay good income tax. Will not find loopholes.
We can do some CSR there.
We can do some CSR specifically where government can see or it is benefiting the government initiative. What government want. For example, the place is very crowded and government is trying to build an infrastructure. So we can build some bridges and all and support the infrastructure locally. So it is like we are aligning with their goals.
And one more risk over here is so there can be chances of demand of say, bribe from the government officials, right? In the countries where it is very less developed and where there are no proper regulations, right? So company has to manage that one as well, because in underdeveloped countries, so right, without what is it, paying those bribes, right? So the things will not move at all. Means the files will not move. Yeah. So somehow the company has to manage that one.
Even in developed country, that can happen. It happens actually,
Mhm.
maybe directly or
Mhm.
indirectly.
Yeah, correct.
So as far as exam is concerned, we should never recommend that we should pay bribe
Yes.
directly or
Yeah.
indirectly. We should never recommend which is unethical. Maybe in practical world, companies are actually doing it, but in certain industries, almost impossible for them to, especially in this kind of industry, to go without that.
Mhm.
But in exam, you have to be very clear that even if we have to lose that deal, even we have to, close the operation there or lose the opportunity, we are not doing anything unethical. And giving bribe is even more than unethical; it's illegal. Okay. Next, mining operations and the operation of processing plants creates the risk of industrial accident. Health and safety as we are discussing. This could lead to injuries to employees and environmental damages to local communities. Many times the environmental damages have been seen after years. It's not immediate. Maybe the company has stopped operation there, they even left there. Then people are seeing the downside of it. And obviously to the own employees, how we can manage that. Rotomyne complies with all rules and regulations to the safe operations of mines and chemical plants. In some cases, it exceeds the formal requirement in order to provide even greater assurance of safety. In many places, especially underdeveloped countries, the requirement is not very strict. The companies want to do the minimum, which can lead to a lot of health and safety risk. So we are doing more than that, okay? Then Rotomyne mines a close relationship with regulators, offers transparency through the proactive reporting of potential problems. Again, government is coming in here. But they have not mentioned anything about the environmental damage and the local communities. What do you think about the second risk, environmental damage and local communities? I don't see them talking about that.
In the second point, Misbah, in that
Yeah.
risk mitigation, so it is mentioned that Rotomyne aims to minimize the environmental impact of its existing mines. But they are not provided any details in the pre-scene, so how they are managing, say, like minimizing this environmental impact.
Right. How do you think we can do it? How are the other companies doing? Just tying up with the regulator, working closely with the government doesn't mean that we are doing good for the environment, isn't it?
So one way would be that wastewater management, right? So not from that brine, but once they process this spodumene from the hard rock mines, I think that will also involve, that will also require a lot of water, right, to extract that lithium. So one way would be how do they recycle that water?
Yeah, recycling of that.
That's one thing. Other would be like how safely they can dispose of the waste materials.
And also how to minimize the use of land, because in one of the ways they have to use huge land to do the processing of lithium.
Uh, Sorry, Mega. What do you mean?
Means in one of the method they are using a huge land.
Okay.
So how to reduce the usage of land? Because after that the fertility may be impact. Fertility of that land may be impact. I'm not sure, but
I mean, getting fertility to that land will be very difficult, but at least something should be done. That land should not be just left like that. It should be used for some other purposes, or we should leave it in such a way that if somebody want to set up a warehouse or anything, they are very out of the society usually. So I don't think that people living there will be something feasible. But maybe if other businesses want to use or the natural habitat, or if it is a kind of jungle, so the natural animals, they should be comfortably living there.
yeah, because in traditional method they are using 3,200 square meters.
Yes, and that is the direct, and indirectly we need a lot of other space as well. So we'll discuss some of this risk again, because we need to find out what is happening in the industry. It will require a little bit of research as well. Okay, any questions on the risk? Therefore, we are doing the risk analysis, that assignment, because this is not enough to understand the risk. And what it should include the risk, which is what we are facing currently, what we might face if you start the new project or go into the new market, the perceived risk if you do something, and the current risk. Okay, any questions on that? Am I audible?
Misbah,
Yes.
on point 2, right? So it looks little contradictory.
This one, it may prove impossible.
Uh,
Um, yeah, so here they say like it's prove impossible to expand production through acquisition of commercially viable mines, right? But mitigation, they say that they're looking for potential acquisitions that become available.
Right, so basically firstly getting its availability of that itself is difficult.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
second thing is, even if you get it, what they are saying is it may prove impossible for commercial viable, basically to
Okay.
get profit out of it, because
Hmm.
extracting that itself is very, very costly process. So we might
Yeah.
get the mine for the probability is low, let's say we got it, even we started
Hmm.
mining, but ultimately earning profit out of it is very difficult. That's the main problem.
Okay. But they can acquire any other mines, right? So when it happens in the real world, so
Yes,
that
I think it should be, as long as they are complying, they should be
mm-hmm.
able to do it. Should not be a
Yeah.
problem.
Okay.
and Misbah, IT security risk maybe there.
Yeah, they have not mentioned. Even I was thinking about that. They have not mentioned. We might have a lot of data of our clients, our own data, our own R&D.
Yeah.
They have not even put in the principal risk, and they have not mentioned anything about IT in the board, even under the responsibilities of CFO.
And supply chain management also, because lithium is a delicate element, so supply chain, I think that also one of the risk for us. Logistic, I think,
Yes, yes.
related to
That is
logistic.
also an important area they have missed. So please make this all in your risk list. It is just an starting point. Sometime in exams they'll give a question that we have missed a major risk on inner principal risk list. So do you think list was ineffective, and who should be blamed for that? Is it a risk committee? Is it the board of directors? Is the risk manager? Because risk management is very important in this business. One problem and everything will become an issue. Okay, so you can start working on that. I'll give you one example, but please don't copy from there. From the pestle analysis also you'll get a lot of risk. So we have financials and we have other news articles and all. First we'll do that news articles and extra reading, then come back to the financials. Okay, so happy comics. So what is this? It's a part of news stories. So CIMA recently has added this. They are trying to give us some extra information about the industry. So how they are putting it up is, somebody is just asking question, a small kid, somebody like 10, 11, like this only they put. They're asking some basic questions, but indirectly they are giving us an idea about our industry. And more of this is just a starting point. Then we have to go out and do some research and try to understand what are the other things related to that. The first is, how do rechargeable batteries work and why don't they last forever? It's a smart question, right? Why don't it last forever? What's the problem? All batteries consist of three basic parts: two metal electrodes, the cathode and the anode, and a liquid or paste called electrolyte, which separates the two electrodes. And a little bit, which is even taught in school, I think. Connecting the cathode and anode from outside of the battery, perhaps by plugging a battery into your favorite toy, causes a flow of electrons, which is just another term of electricity. You don't need to, remember all of this thing. Just need to see from what thing they're talking about. The external flow of electron is driven by a flow of positively charged ions from the anode to the cathode. The ions are created by chemical reaction inside the battery and they flow through the electrolyte. The chemical reaction inside the battery continue until the electrode can no longer create and accept the positive ions. The battery is single use. Then it is now flat and can no longer be used as power source. So we have different batteries. Like usually what you use for watches and everything is just one time use. So maybe they are referring to that. Then we have other batteries which are rechargeable. So now if you talk about rechargeable batteries differ from single use because it is possible to reserve the chemical process by applying an electrical charge to electrodes from the outside. The charge sends positive ions from the cathode back to the anode. Unfortunately, this process is not perfect. The electrodes cannot accept as many ions as we lost during their previous use as a power source, which means the battery's capacity reduces slightly every time it is recharged. If you remember yesterday only, I was sharing my own experience. I've got a scooter and the battery is going down. But the problem is some battery will depreciate very fast. That means the quality is not good. So that means the lithium, that quality and plus the manufacturing, lot of things comes into picture. But for other things, what they're using for car, especially, for example, Tesla is there, BMW is there. These companies, what batteries they are using, it's not like their capacity will reduce over time or will reduce at a faster pace. So this thing also matters. Rechargeable batteries deteriorate slightly with every recharge cycle until there is no point in using them. That explains why you have to replace the rechargeable battery in a mobile phone after a few years or buy a new phone if the battery cannot be replaced. There are different ways to look at it. One is the demand of lithium will be there because it's not like they have made one battery and it will go forever. Firstly, the demand of the product itself is increasing. Secondly, the lifespan of the product is limited. Product as in I'm referring to the end product where lithium batteries are used. That means we have a sustainable demand until we have some other component coming in. But so far lithium is the best for it. And secondly, as an opportunity, like yesterday somebody was saying about recycling. Someone said from you to do recycling, right? So recycling of a batteries can also be a very good opportunity. And in fact, it's easier to get government grants and support if you are doing something with recycling. Next one, if mining of for lithium is bad for the environment, why don't we recover the lithium from batteries when they are no longer able to hold or charge? Matthew 12. In theory, that would be great idea, but it isn't really practical. The electrolyte in lithium ion battery is held in modules that are made. So basically, this is important to know because some of the students might just say, okay, we should recycle the lithium itself, but that's not possible. If imagine if that was possible, we don't need to mine itself. Same thing with the petrol and everything. It just get used and used. It get evaporated and get used. We cannot just use the same fuel again. The electrolyte in a lithium-ion battery is held in modules that are made up of large number of cells. Recovering the lithium requires the cell to be opened up and emptied, which requires a lot of time and a lot of energy. It wouldn't necessarily benefit the environment to extract the lithium from old batteries instead of mining more. So once we are recycling, there is another question coming up now. If we are recycling it, what we'll do with it? Because saying it's a lot of energy means the word energy has been added here because we are relating this to environment and why we are recycling for the environment. It doesn't make sense to, we have to affect more of the environment in a negative way just to safeguard a little bit. The next one, We have been studying batteries in chemistry. One of the classmates says that her home country produces the best lithium in the world. Could that be true? The answer is no. Lithium is mined in several different countries. It comes from Earth as either rocks or brine that contains lithium compound. The rock and the brine are processed to extract lithium carbonate. This chemical compound that can be further processed to give different compounds. Next part is very important. It does not matter where lithium was mined once that has been processed. So process actually matters. Lithium carbonate produced in one country is identical to lithium from any other. It is sold as commodity and price of lithium as a raw material is the same regardless of its source. So the only problem for businesses like us to get the license and get the place to mine, but the prices doesn't change. Very similar to the oil, right? Location can make a difference to the mining companies because their operating cost will be affected by the purity of the mined rocks or brine. In that way, yes. And obviously the logistic part. The logistic overall itself is very costly. Now with this, it will be even costlier. If the material from the mine is of high purity, then it will be cheaper than easier to extract the lithium carbonate. Location also affect transportation cost. Two things that can affect is cost and but I believe we have already reached to a position in Rotomyne that if you just get an opportunity, we are ready to jump in, considering the demand for lithium. So one way is if you are lucky or if you can get a mine which is comparatively easier or it's more pure, that's fine. Secondly, we have to invest in a technology where we can extract it in a cheaper way or make it in a cheaper way, make it like do the process in a most effective way. We are still learning about batteries in chemistry. We found out today that electrolyte used in a lot of rechargeable batteries, either lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide. They have mentioned this in the place. They still get called lithium, even though they are compounds of pure lithium metal. Isn't that confusing? Jay, it is common practice to refer to different compounds of lithium in this way. For most purposes, the context in which the word is used make it meaning clear. It's possible to extract lithium in its pure metal form, but it is difficult to store because it's highly volatile and deteriorates quickly if it becomes in contact with atmosphere. It is unlikely that any mention of lithium is referring to pure lithium metal. Why we are doing it? Because it doesn't deteriorate. Obviously, companies who buy lithium compound or pure lithium metal will be very specific about the metal that is being ordered, so there will be no confusion. So which one they are using for batteries? Is it hydroxide or carbonate? They have mentioned. Can you tell me which one is it? Hello, I'm asking you a question. You've read the Preseen, right?
Yeah, it's hydroxide predominantly. And I think carbonate is used in those lubricants.
Right.
No, Misbah, so both are used, sorry.
No, but one of them is used more.
I think hydroxide is used more compared to carbonate.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Lithium hydroxide is primarily used in production of lithium ion batteries. Now we'll go to the actual news. So how we have to look at this news is like an opportunity or threat. Basically, these are external. I hope in stakeholders you have considered media also. Another thing I was telling you guys before, I'll repeat, is you have to make a list of 20 stakeholders and their expectation from us. So media is one of the stakeholder. And if you put them into power and interest, usually they have low power and low interest with us. But when they get interested with us, they can easily get power. They can easily get into government. They'll easily get into public because they have very big reach. So some news article can be a threat for us. Some can be an opportunity. If it is an opportunity, we have to see, can we try to link it with the strength and get benefited from it? Or if it is a threat, try to convert it in opportunity. Or at least if it is a threat, make sure it is not focused on our weakness. So it doesn't affect our operation. But it's not disrupting our business. Okay. OT is the new threat vector. Factories used to be operated by engineers, many of whom worked on the factory floor. They check dials and adjust levers to ensure the factory operations were safe and consistent. This is just an example of that as well. Work in progress was carried from machine to machine by pipes or by conveyor belts, and process were monitored constantly to ensure that everything worked as it should. There is a lot of health and safety and a lot of expertise that is required for the people. You can imagine here if somebody is careless, it can be a very big effect. Factories are now more likely to be controlled by operational technology rather than by human intervention. More of automation kind of thing. OT consists of combination of hardware and software that monitors and directs the operation and control of equipment, process, and events in the workplace. We are talking about technology, but we don't have an IT director. We don't see that as a risk, isn't it? I mean, they are not referring to Rotomyne here directly, but when they're talking about the industry, definitely. And one thing we have to be understanding, like anything happen in the IT itself is not an industry, right? It's an enabler kind of thing. Whenever something changes in the technology, it will affect every industry, whether it is education, whether it is healthcare, whether it is construction, whether it is mining, isn't it? Some places it will have more impact, other places it might have less impact. OT enables factories to be managed centrally, with process being managed by automation rather than by human operations. Machines are not simply automatic. They can pass instruction to adjacent equipment, activating valves and carriages to transfer materials to the next stage of the process, and sending the correct setting to machinery that will conduct the next stage of manufacture. Basically, it's kind of smart machines now. It's not just repeating the process. It is even changing according to the materials and everything. The ICS industrial control system that enables this communication and coordination are not new. They have developed decades ago. They were designed to enable safe and efficient operations. So see this as an opportunity, I would say, because if you're using technology, health and safety risk is also being reduced, and the efficiency and effectiveness will also be reduced. The only problem with this type of technology is the first time cost. The capital expense is usually higher, and how much time it will take us to get return on the investment. Then after that, we'll get the profit. Like you do NPV analysis, no? Like that. They were designed to enable safe and efficient operations with little concern of security, because there was rarely any external connectivity. What is new in the ICS is being integrated with IT system. Despite the lack of security feature, this is the thing. You can put this as a risk also when you're making a risk list, no? If you're using this technology, because we are using certain perceived risk, right? What can come in the future? The security feature is not. Connecting ICS system to IT network creates opportunities for unauthorized breaches that can be motivated by desire to access confidential data or to disrupt manufacturing operations. Imagine a computer, okay? Imagine a computer is kind of attacking us. Or maybe somebody who is not even our computer, somebody attack us and our manufacturing process disrupted. So suddenly what happened? There will be less supply and increased demand. So the prices will go up. Somebody can do that in the industry just to increase the prices, because if one company is not able to deliver what they have promised, they'll go to other company and they have to go extra prices, so it will create a shortage totally. Same thing happening with that chips manufacturing also. There is an issue, which therefore there is a lot of tension in Taiwan. Yes, Sham.
Okay. Misbah, can we expect any questions related to projects, right?
What kind
When
of
so because this article talks about IT system, right? So if as a senior manager, right? So can I expect a question related to how do I handle this project of implementation of this new technology? Can you expect those kind of
So
questions?
directly, I mean, they are not testing you on project management, okay?
Okay.
But
Okay.
indirectly they can. For example, you want to go into this thing, how will you evaluate the project? Like
Okay.
suitability, acceptability, feasibility of that, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe we can say like what are the risk involved if we do with that, or shall we go with acquisition or organic growth?
Okay.
Yeah. Usually, if we are not doing this, we'll try to acquire a business who is doing that, so we get everything or almost thing ready for it. You don't need to start organically. Any listed company that want to waste time, because one of the advantage of listed or big companies, you have finance.
But Misbah, in that one, right? So the potential challenge would be that change management, right? Means
Change
that
or integration of that business. Yes.
yeah, integration. Yeah. So even in our current organization, right? So we had this merger with another major company. So we still, it's almost a year now since the both companies have merged, but we are still struggling with that integration. So if the other company wants some data from us, right? So they can't access it, and vice versa for us as well.
Why? Because you have not done the data integration yet.
No, it's still like it's going on.
What kind of change they are using? The direct changeover, phase changeover, parallel running.
Mm, so currently it's parallel running, Misbah.
Okay.
So what they want to do is our company was previously known as Novozymes, right? So we acquired another company by name Christian Hansen. So what these guys are planning to do is like whatever systems were there in Novozymes, right? So they want to implement the same system in that another company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
especially
because of, yeah,
it's a problem if it is acquisition, at least the buying company can put some pressure, but if it's a merger, we need cooperation from both the side.
yes. And even for us, right? So it became difficult to get data from that another company. So still we are struggling. We don't have data at say a transaction level to do any of our budgeting. So we are assuming certain things and then we are doing the budgeting.
Why they are not? Because the same company, no, maybe
Same
that the
company, but
trust level is not created yet.
that might be the reason. And another one is like they are not maintaining that kind of like transaction level data as we used to do. Means they never used to do budgeting at that level, right? But we used to look at even the transaction level and then we used to take into account like which are the higher spends and then we used to do our budgeting. But they used to do only at the top level.
Right. So definitely there is some problem with the integration.
Mm, yeah. And right now we have a separate team which has been set up. So where all these integration can take place. So
Right.
there is separate project manager now who is handling this
Project
integration.
manager or a change manager, change
Yeah.
leader who should come in and do that. So
Yeah.
integration is the biggest challenge. In fact, if they ask you a issue in CIMA exams also, you can say integration is the biggest problem. Whether it is horizontal, whether it is vertical, whatever kind of integration we are doing or acquisition we are doing. And the plan should be beforehand, should be more proactive. The company is proactive, then they'll face less problem after the merger or acquisition. In fact, according to, I think it was World Economic Forum research or some other company research, they said more than 60-70% of this M&A, merger and acquisition, will not achieve the desired synergetic uh, target. Whatever they have expected, what synergy they'll achieve, they'll not achieve it. Because companies usually think what is there for us. They are not trying to help others what we can do for the company to grow. I mean, it's not other company. We should not even use that word. But the so-called previously, which was a separate entity. That's the main problem. Even certain businesses have collapsed just because they have done a wrong merger or acquisition because of the cultural clash. Right? Okay. Portland Telegraph scientists debate battery storage options. This year's annual academic conference on carbon-free energy generation has focused its attention on the security of electricity supplies. Obviously, most of the governments are looking for alternative. There has been significant concern because many of the alternatives to fossil fuels rely on energy sources that can be inconsistent in the delivery of power. The main problem is inconsistent, or sometimes the problem is storage. For example, solar. The biggest problem is solar is to store it. Wind and solar energy are excellent, but when wind blows and the skies are sunny, but not all locations can provide consistent power. One solution is to capture excess energy that is not required for immediate consumption. There are several tech that can be used to store surplus electricity, including arrays of same lithium-ion batteries that are used to power electric vehicles. So this is straight away a benefit for us and an opportunity for us, because even in this, even if they're using alternative, they have to store it, right? Storing is the main problem. So lithium-ion batteries can be one of the perfect place to store it. Demand for lithium-ion batteries for energy storage is limited because the batteries are too expensive for this purpose. The only thing is cost, and we as a supplier cannot do much. The process itself is very costly. Then we have other players who are actually making it in a battery, then their commission, then the entire supply chain. Right? Alternative battery types are under development, some of which will be suitable for the efficient storage of surplus electricity. Sodium ion batteries are much cheaper to produce because they are more abundant material. They should be commercially available by 2030. Till now, it was an opportunity now, but sodium they're talking about as a threat. So straight away, we have to see, can we just, not only about the sodium ion batteries, like we discussed previously, what other manufacturing things we can do. Sorry, what other materials we can take it from here, from the raw materials, what we are getting in, from the 92%. And I think sodium will be comparatively easier. And if you do now, it can have a first mover advantage. They are larger and heavier than equivalent lithium-ion batteries, making them unsuitable for use in electric vehicles. If you think from electric vehicle perspective, no, because it's very heavy. And if things become heavier, the mileage will come down. The greater bulk is not a problem if the batteries are to be located in wind farms as a means of strong electricity that is not required for immediate consumption, perhaps on a windy day. So what we understood from this news article, lithium-ion batteries have a demand. There's an opportunity wise also, but secondly, another option, like we talk about product development, so sodium ion batteries can be one of them. Now we have to see if the other companies are actually mining it, and usually it is expected from the current companies to do that because of the experience.
So, but if we look at the real world, right? So the company Albemarle, so they are into this business, the energy storage business. Means they have this bigger batteries where they can store energy which is generated through the solar and then wind energy. So they're actually doing it.
Can you repeat?
No, this company Albemarle, right? So they are into this business of storage of this electricity from wind and solar using bigger battery grids. Yeah, so they're doing it actually.
And I believe government will be the client. Usually government has to come in here. So government can be the major customer or client for us.
Okay, but why government? But if we see like this I mean, what do you call this?
So
Wind
at a
manufacturing.
macro level, if you're using, because
Mhm.
governments are working, they want to be a carbon neutral. They have put 2040, 2050 as a target.
Mhm.
Especially the expense also. As an individual business, they can still go with the traditional power supply. So who will invest in that is usually the government or maybe some pioneer companies, who are just moving and looking at it as an opportunity for the business.
And alternatively, even Rotomyne can also invest in this
Yeah,
business, right?
Rotomyne
As a
should
CSR.
actually do it.
Yeah, as a CSR activity. So one end, so they are making environmental damage through mining, and to compensate it, so they can like bring new technologies and then invest in this energy storage.
Right. I mean, not only as a CSR, but we can start investing this as a business as well. Because by the time, instead of 2030, if we have good, we can just try to make it before 2030 also. Or we'll have an first more
Yeah.
advantage as discussed. And we have an expertise. It won't be very different from what we are doing with the lithium. And we are not actually making batteries now. So we can just give that raw materials again to the battery manufacturers. Or we can start making batteries by sodium. That will also be having, will not be competitors to the current companies who are buying lithium for us. They will not see us as a threat. And at the same time, we are looking something for future to diversify our portfolio. All right, so think of it. Now moving towards the last news article, Portland Daily. Carriers geologists are in demand. So in most of the place, supply and demand. When something is in demand and supply is low, we might have to obviously pay extra for it. Geology is the study of the Earth's structure and substance. Geologists analyze rock samples and they use equipment to study activity under the Earth's surface. They're often looking for resources that can be extracted by mining or by drilling wells. Previously, we just discussed the risk, right? That even if we mine, we might not get exactly. So we need a team of geologists or maybe expert geologists. Or we can even outsource some of this work to the best in the world. The companies who are having the best technology and best geologists. Continuing demand for natural resources means that demand for geologists frequently exceeds supply. So this will be our employees, if you're having in-house or even if you're outsourcing this work, they need to be prioritized. An experienced geologist can expect to be well paid. A career in geology can be challenging. There are many techniques for studying what lies beneath the Earth's surface. But it's rarely possible to be 100% certain of what is there. The risk can be mitigated just like other risks, but it cannot be avoided. A geologist may be confident of the presence of, say, iron ore, but the only way to be certain is to sink a test drill to collect samples. So we can find options to test drills. The problem is lithium is so much in, even that can be costly. Iron ore may be present, but the ore could be low grade or the deposit may be insufficient to justify mining. There is also possibility that the earth structure in that area is not sufficiently stable to mine safely. Earth structure, maybe let's say it is in the mountain, it is in the, there is already natural habitat there, or maybe people are living around there. We have to see commercially viable, we need to see environmentally viable, we have to see there's so many things come in place. However, it is obvious that we need a constant research that is required to get these places identified, because when the demand get increased, we need more places to do the mining. All right. So it's 7:40 in India now. So I need to ask you something. Do you guys have time? I mean, if we extend a little bit extra today, can we finish? If you can give, let's say, almost 1 hour from now, or at least 50 minutes, we can finish the finances. Or you want to do tomorrow? I'll suggest we can do today. If you want, we can take like 5-10 minutes break now, and then start with the finance.
Yeah, Miss, we can like take some break and then join. But let hear from others as well.
Misbah, I have to leave by. I have some other plan.
You have to leave by what time?
By 8.
Okay. Others? Sohail, Dikshita, Fahim.
Misbah, I
Yeah,
don't
from
mind. I can manage.
I
15
I'm
minutes.
also okay with it.
Great. So, Mega, you can attend the starting, and whatever you miss, I'll give the recording. Is that okay? Or otherwise, we can discuss on call also if you have doubt.
Okay, fine.
So we'll take around 5 to 7 minutes break, then we'll resume. All right, I'll be on mute. You can just catch up some uh, water or something. Okay, see you guys in a few minutes. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, Misbah.
Hello. Yep.
All right. Thank you for waiting. I hope you got a small break. Shall we start? Everyone is back.
Yes, Mr.
Fahim, Nikhil.
Yes, Mr.
Okay. Megha.
Yes, sir. Misbah.
All right.
Yes, Misbah.
Thank you, guys. All right. So before starting this, we need to understand that what we are actually looking from the finance. Okay. Just a few basic points to be cleared first. There will be no calculations in your exams. You don't need to carry any, calculator with you because there is no calculation. However, sometimes if you want to mention certain percentage to justify, we are planning to have a dedicated class only on how to do writing skill in exams. Maybe on Thursday or Friday, we'll discuss on the group, and whatever you guys say, we'll do it on that time. At least for 1 hour or 90 minutes, only focusing on that. Then we'll discuss that. So when it comes to finance, it is not about the calculations. And the financial statements they give for management case study, also operational case study, also if some of you have given other papers, it's almost the same information. But how we look at it is totally different. So now we have to go beyond numbers and we have to see how it is helping us for the strategy. So we have to be talking about risk strategy. We have to talk about marketing, business, different strategies. But specifically when it comes to finance strategy, because every strategy is directly or indirectly part of finance strategy. How, for example, marketing strategy will be decided on how much marketing budget you have, isn't it? Now we are talking about getting a new executive director. Again, it will depend upon what is our budget. So we can use numbers to justify it. If you want to put numbers, let's say you're talking about we have this much percentage of gearing, then we can talk about it to justify why debt is better, why equity is better. However, don't expect that you'll get calculations or you need to remember the numbers. You don't need to buy hard this. Okay, that is a better thing. And one thing compared to MCS is where they ask you specifically for IFRS standards. So here they won't ask you anything about IFRS standard. So you don't have to worry more about it. Now what you have to kind of be concerned here is how the investors, we are a listed company, right? How the investors, the lenders, basically different stakeholders are looking at the company. So basically everyone will be looking from their perspective, their specific ratios. For example, if it is the owner, right, the shareholder, they'll be looking at earning per share, dividend per share, isn't it, dividend payout ratio. If it is if it is a lender, let's say bank, they'll be looking at gearing ratio, they'll be looking at asset turnover. Then almost everyone will be looking at the gross profit, the net profit of the company. Okay, so we'll be calculating some of the ratios. In fact, I have shared with you the familiarity kit. There you might have got some ratios already, but I'll suggest you to do it yourself so you will remember it. All right, so we'll be discussing different aspect of the profit or loss and the financial statement. Try to see and understand how the company is doing. Okay, mostly it's just upon certain ratios and the overall growth of the company. If there is something which we need to remember, we can discuss that in more detail. All right, so one good thing that CIMA has done lately is, previously they used to give the year end of 31st December, because that's what happened in the UK, right? But now that would be almost 1 year late information. It was very difficult. For example, if you're writing an exam that use retained earning as a source of revenue, but that retained earning was almost 1 year back, and now the same Preseen is used for 2 years. So you can imagine that 1 year 3 months back or 2 months back, 14-15 months old data, it will be very difficult to know what is the current situation. Therefore they have made it the 30 September. So now we can say just last month data. Last year only we have closed. Last month only we have close it. When you're writing exam also, it's just almost 2 months old data or 50 days kind of. And simultaneously, they also give information about one competitor to see and compare some similar company within the industry and within the same environment. That is very important. Why? Because if market becomes saturated, both of them will not grow. If market is growing, both of them will grow. So that will also give us some idea and give some background about investing in it, all right, or coming up with a new product, or shall we go into the new market, all of this. Okay, so first we'll start with the revenue, profit or loss. So the previous year's revenue on 30 September was 8,203. We are talking in million $, and it has unfortunately come down. Technically, it should have gone up. And what is the percentage? It has come down. If you just divide this by this, you will get it. 8203 by 7815. What is the percentage? Can you quickly do it? Just to understand. Okay, I'll do it. One second.
It's 4.7%.
4.7%. So 4.7% we have come down. Actually, it's not a good thing, obviously. And what about the operating cost? Unfortunately, operating cost has gone up. Technically, if this is coming down, so this thing should have gone up. But it's vice versa. As a business, we want the revenue to go up and the operating cost to come down. So what may be the reason? Is it because of that the share price has come down? Let's see what information we have for the share price. We have it till September. The share price has come down. Maybe that is also one of the reason, that because of the decreased revenue. Now, what can be the assumptions we can make? We don't know exactly, right? If you see 39, it was almost till here. Now it has come down here. So there is a this much difference have been there. If you talk in numbers, it was around $15 and it even does 17, 19. Now it is come down to 10, even less than 10. It's coming here. So what can be the reason? We don't know exactly, but we can guess. Maybe.
Maybe
Sorry, Mr. Yeah.
I would say there may be the excess lithium in the market because the price is determining demand and supply. If the excess supply in the market, then price going be down.
What is happening with the real world companies? Did they also face that?
Real world company don't
Sam, you
know.
have shared the same price, share price of some of the company, right? What was
Yeah,
their status last
yeah,
year?
Misbah. So there's a drop in the share price of Albemarle.
Only one company, or have you seen other company also?
No, I just saw one company.
Okay, so it looks like that can be an external factor also.
Hmm. Yeah, and there was one Australian company as well. So even their share price has dropped.
Right. Remember, we are discussing that some of the news articles and obviously some of the predictions were saying that demand will be not going very high for the EV batteries, or at least it will slow down, because everyone was super positive about it, and suddenly they're like, I mean, there are mixed reviews. Some of them are saying that the EV batteries, why I'm just talking about batteries, because it is giving almost 70 to 75% of the revenue to the business, battery manufacturers.
So, Misbah, one reason would be see, now the company doesn't want to acquire any new mindset because they don't get that much of quality from the mine. Otherwise, they have to process it a lot. So, because of that reason, they might be
Where it
even
says we
digging.
don't want to acquire. We want to acquire. We are saying it is difficult to acquire to
It's
get
difficult to acquire, yes, to find any viable mines. So I
commercially
think
viable.
probably, yeah, commercially viable. I think even in their existing mines, right? So they might need to even dig more deep, and then because of that, right? So their operational costs have increased. So that could be one of the reason, right? Correct
Operation
me if I'm
has
wrong.
gone up definitely
Mm.
because of the different process, and I believe it may be due to the treasury department, forex and other things what we have to do, payments what we did.
Can you just again repeat the last point?
Dishita, I was saying that operating cost might have gone up because the process might have taken. It would be little cost. It's not like always same when we are mining. It will take the same amount of cost. There will be some fixed
Okay,
and some variable cost. So that may be one of the reason why the operating cost have gone up.
okay,
So we are looking at two areas now. One is the revenue, obviously, and the second one is this. So in the
Yeah.
second one, it may be because of the cost. And another reason of losing revenue can be, especially in B2B business, is just client. Even if we have lost a single client, it will affect us because here the number of clients remains small, but the contribution they do is higher. Therefore, in B2B business, the clients usually become the key players. In B2C, you will have hundreds of thousands. So it's like they will have high interest but low power. But here they'll have high interest plus high power. That will make them powerful stakeholder, key players. And even when they leave us, it's not only affect the revenue, but the market will react to it. And obviously, it's not a positive news. So share price will go down. In fact, in one of the previous exam, we have questioned that again it was similar business model B2B. One of our client which was giving us 8 to 9% of the revenue was about to leave us. It was in the news article. And just because of the news article, the share price started to fall. We are trying to retain them and giving them better pricing, better deals, and something tailored, but it didn't work out. So we don't know exactly, but this may be one of the reasons. Why we need to remember this is, these are like some gaps in the Preseen that may be asked in the exam. So you should know the, story behind it, that it fell down and what may be the reason. At the same time, the share price also went down. And in 2022, we have got a lot of new people in the board as well. We don't know what happened in 21, sorry, 22 in the financial year. But in 22, the share price was again down. So one of the reason we were assuming is because of the issue in, let's say, ethics or issue in the dealing of the board of directors. Maybe some of them were involved in unethical practices, or maybe they were not effective, in simple words. Sorry, I'll just highlight that. I'll come to you for him, just 1 second. If you see, we have got Shaista in 22, this guy Andre in 22, both of them, and both are the key position, right? The CEO, yeah, and even the chair. Especially the CEO and the chair is the most important. So maybe because of that also, we have changed them. We have get the new leadership in the board. Maybe something happened, some issue happened. Because of that, obviously, being a listed company, the share price reacted to it, and as a response to that, we have changed the board. At least some member of the board. Maybe one of the reasons. Yes, Fahim, you want to add something? Hello.
Yeah. Can I think like this, because the revenue compared to the 23, 24 is reduces, okay, but when you look at the operation costs, it increases. Maybe the Rotomyne think we last year we make the good revenue, they can spend more money to get the revenue about that, then therefore this operating cost increase.
Yeah, possible. I mean, this happens when company are very over optimistic. No, if the revenue is going up, they'll invest in so much of fixed expenses.
Even I go and look the balance sheet. See, there
Yeah.
is a property, plant and equipment is reduced, is not increased as well. Well, that's why I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Even
slightly
the
reduced
inventory,
interest as well. Yeah.
inventory also is reduced. Only nothing is increased here
I mean,
because of.
inventory reduction, I think it can be a good as well because a lot of companies don't want to have a lot of inventory.
But
It can be
where
looked
they
at
spend
either
this
way.
money, where they spend it, this whole operating cost, maybe any patent, right? They're not mentioned here, no, we cannot find it.
Yes, yes. It's just we have to make certain assumptions.
Okay.
So one link we are getting is with the board of directors. Second one is because we have lost the client. Third one, especially with the operating cost, maybe we have tied up. Let's say in 2022 it was less. It was 7,000. It went to 8,000, and we expected that it to be at 8,500 or near to 9,000 2024. So we have spent it in some fixed cost, and we have to pay for it. And especially we are talking about R&D and everything, so we need infrastructure for that. We need a lot of uh, expense for that. I mean, investment for that, which will actually not benefit us directly.
Mm. Do reserves affect operating cost?
No, reserves have nothing to do with the operating expenses.
Okay.
So now
What
coming to operating profit. So obviously operating profit has also uh, gone down. Operating profit is very important for the lenders because lenders ratio, what they look at, they look at interest cover ratio. And what is the formula? Operating profit divided by operating cost. So here it can be 2741 divided by 500. How many times we are covering it? The more time we are covering it, the better it is. Like 4 times, 5 times. Usually, the banks will say at least it should cover more than 3 times. Now it looks like more than 5 times. So that way, it looks okay. But there is no change in the finance cost. Sometimes what happened, the company has taken debt to pay off the finance. So their non-current liability will go up and the finance cost will come down. So here if you see non-current liability remains the same. That means there is no changes with the, we have neither taken any non-current liability, we have never neither paid off any non-current liability. Because there is a chance finance cost will go up also, isn't it? If you would have taken loan, this 500 would have become maybe like 600, 550, anything. However, the interest cover has come down. Then we have got gross profit, and looking at the tax expense, tax is obviously, I mean, according to the gross profit. And we have the profit for the year. What is the percentage reduction in profit for the year? Another insight I'm just looking at it is because it's very simple to see 500 and 5,000. Sorry, non-current liability. So we are paying almost 10% at the interest. Usually they will not consider, I mean, ask that, but just as an analysis, I'm just looking at it because 5,000 and how much is the finance cost? 500. So 10 times. Sorry, 10%. 10% is the thing. So we can see if we can get a better deal. Last year also 10%, this year also 10%. Maybe we have gone with the fixed rate of interest. What do you think? Fixed or floating? Companies usually make a mix of fixed or floating. Anyways, what is the interest? Sorry, reduction in the profit? How much percentage? Can you just divide and tell me?
21.7%.
How much?
21.7.
21%. I mean, that's a very big one, right?
20.
to 1 minute. Two. Yeah, so we have just got around 78% of the profit what we got last year. We have got around 22% less, 21.8 something. That's a very big issue what we are going through now. Now it will, and obviously that's in millions, right? It will affect a lot of other things. Yeah, fine. Fahim, you want to add something?
Yeah. Give me 2 minutes. I'll back to you.
No problem. Yeah, so there is a massive decrease in that. Now, how we can cover it up? Please mention this also in the risk list. That are profit after tax or profit of the year has gone down. Now, creating trust with the stakeholder, especially the investor, can be a challenge. Because as a listed company, as a matured company, and it's not just in a single digit, it's double digit, right? And 20% is massive. More than 20% is massive, isn't it? The biggest problem is we have not only lost the revenue, but the operating cost has also gone up. Let me just quickly compare to our competitor to see if it was due to some external factor. So we have Dig Group, lithium digging, and maybe they have short word Dig. So Dig is one of Rotomyne's direct competitors with 10 lithium mines operating in 7 different countries. How much mines we have? How many mines we have? I'm asking you a
6.
question. Sorry?
6. We have
Total
6, right? In 6 countries.
6 countries, 9 mines.
9 mines.
9
Yeah.
months. Okay.
7 and 2. 2 of them are in area which is like geopolitically not stable. And we are operating in 6 countries. They are operating in 7 countries. So comparatively to us, they are 1 extra mine plus 1 extra country. And they are also located in Poland. Very similar to us. So they were around 10 million, 10,000 million. Now they have also come down to it. Can you quickly see what's the percentage? I feel that there should be something, an external factor here, because how it is possible both of us just facing the same revenue going down and operating cost going up? What is the percentage of revenue reduced? For us, it was around 3%, right?
5.5.
Can you repeat?
5.5.
5.5. It's even bigger than us. And even the revenue is bigger than us. And how much the difference in profit?
17.75 decrease in profit.
17.75. And in terms of value, how much is the difference? If you just subtract 2649 from 3221,
563.
around 560. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are 2 type of risk businesses face that we see in F3 also, systematic and unsystematic risk. And systematic risk is something which is external to the business. So it looks like, I mean, still, I guess, they have not mentioned, but there's a strong probability because of the external factor, this has been happened. Operating cost, maybe we have to have extra expenses because of mining issues or maybe some regulations. And one more thing, we can assume it out of the 10 countries which this dig is operating, maybe the nine places are same, the 9 mines are same. Out of 10 mining areas, the 9 mining areas are same. Therefore, they've also seen a similar dip like us, because the probability of internal efficiency or unsystematic risk looks lesser. Yes, Fahim.
I'm thinking the operating costs they increase because of maybe they're spending too much money for research. Because when you research, we cannot capitalized. No, we have to book as a cost only. After develop only we can go for capitalized expenses, right? Maybe I'm thinking they're spending too much money for the research.
Right. Yes, that may be the case, because as per IS 38
Yeah,
intangible asset, when we do spend in R&D, and if whatever you have found out, it has to qualify some standards, like it should be economically valued separately. It should have there are some five categories. Should be you can sell the thing separately. There are five categories or five conditions it should satisfy. Then only we can put it into intangible asset. Otherwise, that R&D will be taken as a current year expense. They have not given any breakdown. They have just in direct operating
yeah.
cost.
Even if
It's
I
gonna
am going check the balance sheet, they not increase any current asset as well. Therefore, where this money is gone? That's what I'm thinking.
So R&D looks like one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Or maybe both the we and our competitors both are doing something to similar, or maybe we are trying for sodium, or we are trying to utilize the other things, the wastage of that 92%. Lot of things will be identical in a similar business. Yes, Sham, you wanted to add something?
No, Miss, it was on the similar lines. So comparing the operating costs, right? So for competitor, it has increased by nearly 2%, but for us, it has increased by nearly 5%. So yeah, so as Fine was pointing out, right? So even the same thing was in my mind as well. Probably we are investing more in R&D.
Okay. And what do you think? We should continue investing, or we should kind of control? Because till now we are just talking about we should do a research and development. Now, when it is coming to cost, we are into dilemma. Shall we continue that, or we should kind of control it? What do you think?
This is
How we can justify it?
depending on where they are investing. This how long the research will take, when the output will come. Based on that information only we can take decision whether continue or not. Because some research is not going to finish within 1 year. No, it's take year and year.
Most of the research will take longer. Yeah. Or we can do is think of an alternative. Like they have not mentioned any partnership with the university, any partnership with other business. Why don't we partner with LithDig, the computer itself? Because if both of us are doing research on the same thing, we can have a synergetic benefit, and it will reduce 50% cost for both of us. We just need to maintain our confidentiality. Our data and everything doesn't goes out, or whatever we want to be keep inside our business. And if it is same, why don't we partner it? And that's what airline industry is doing, automobile industry is doing. A lot of competitors, they are like arch rivals in the market, but internally they are doing a joint venture, they are doing a strategic alliance. We are not talking about a merger or acquisition, especially when the cost of research is very high, and research is kind of mandatory in this. That can be one of the option, tying up with different partners, university or even the computer itself, then maybe government grants or any other support what we can get. So think of that, and we might see it from the real world companies if they are doing it as well. All right. Because when it's affect the profit, a lot of shareholders are not even interested to know what we have done and why it has come. They are just looking at the bottom line. In fact, why it is called a bottom line? Because that's what matters. For a profit making company, what matters? The profit. Simple as that. Then second is statement of changes in equity. Opening balance was 3,000. We have a retained opening balance 2045. Okay, profit for the year. Oh my god. So dividend itself is very high now. We need a lot of money for R&D, and we are not keeping the profit what we have achieved. Firstly, profit is not equal to cash. We don't say that we have that level of cash, and even from that we have paid a very big percentage as a dividend. What is the exact percentage?
It's
Around,
nearly 90%,
yeah, around 80 to
89.5.
90%. Dividend cover, if you see, it is 1.1 time. If you just divide 1822 by 1684, it is coming 1.1. And we don't have a previous year information on dividend. So usually, around 90. What's the exact? Can you just tell me the exact? Just divide it quickly.
Which one? Dividend payout, is it?
Yeah.
It's
How much paid
89.5%.
from the profit? Exactly how
Eight,
much?
yeah, 89.5%.
89.5. That's very high. Any company which is paying more than 30%, it is considered high. Even if you see stable companies in the industry, they pay around 25, 30. Nobody will go more than that. Why? Because if you're paying higher dividend, that means you have less money for investment. Then you have to go outside to finance. And we don't have enough retained earning also. Now retained earning, they're saying 2,252. But we don't know exactly how much we actually have it. Then if you see currency reserves, there is a loss. There should be a loss for our competitors also in this. Actually, this is more of translation, so we don't need to worry. It's just on paper, and it is an international business. This happens. Okay. One of the reason can be because our share price is going down. We don't want to keep our shareholders unhappy, so we thought of just giving them some push by paying higher dividend. But the problem is we cannot sustain by paying that much. 90% dividend, like how will sustain, isn't it? How much these guys have given? They look little sensible. It looks like around 50%. What's the exact? Can you just quickly divide?
49.5.
49 and 5 and 5. So they are still sensible, still higher than what usually industries do. We also need to find out what this comes. So let's say on the round figure, these people are paying 50 and we are paying 90. Usually in the previous pre-scenes I have seen, if we are paying around 89, 90, our competitor is also paying that much. But here there is a very big difference. And unfortunately, we don't have access to their share price. There may be an assumption that they are not facing the crisis on the share price what we do. Like our share price has been very much volatile. From 2019 till start of 2021 or mid of 2022, it was doing good. But suddenly it fell down. And after that, it has been going up, then going down. In fact, it has been the lowest now. We have reached to the position where we were there in 21. So the shareholders will say, like, in 3 years we have not gained anything with the share price. They're again back to the basic. It's just around $10 now. And we are more risky. So we have been given the beta factor. What is beta factor? 1.63. That is the percentage. That means we are 63% more riskier than the industry average, than what our competitor is. So when the investor accepting 63% extra risk, obviously they're expecting a better return. So maybe one of the reason. What else can be the reason of paying higher dividend? It's not looks like the competitor who is our immediate competitor, at least in that country which is similar size and similar business, is paying that. What do you guys think? How can we justify paying so much of dividend? Now, how we'll manage? We have seen in the financial strategy, like dividend will affect our investment in financing. If you pay off the profit now, where you'll get the money for investment, and what other financing options we have? and we have to also combine this with the gearing. If we have less gearing, at least we can say we have good financing option. Let's quickly see the gearing. So what's the formula? Debt divided by debt plus equity. How much is the debt? Debt is 5,000. It is straight away they have given, divided by 5,000 plus equity. Equity is how much? Total 4814. So if you divide 5,000 by 5,000 plus 4814 into 100, should come around 50.9.
It's yeah, Misbah,
Yes.
50.9.
Yeah. So 50.9. So again, as a rule of thumb, in normal condition, it is considered up to 50% is safe to take debt, but after 50%, it is a kind of challenge. Challenge as in it becomes more riskier for us to raise the finance. So we have already touched that ceiling also. Now we have paid dividend also, which is very high. And the problem with the dividend is we don't know firstly what they paid last year. But imagine if the same expectation is there from the next year, how we can manage that? Because what is the shareholders' expectation? Whatever we have got last year, we should get little bit better than that. At least same like what we got last year. Excuse me. Yes, Sham.
So, Misbah, I think in this kind of scenario, right? So where the share price is also very low, and even we don't have opportunities to raise any new finance. So in these kind of situations, I think there will be threat of like being taken over by some other company. Right. So shareholders will not be happy because their share prices have been falling every year, and then it's like almost low now. And then to compensate that, we have given a very high dividend to them, right? But what will happen to the next year, right? So probably if there is a good what is a proposal for any acquisition, I think this company might be like taken over by some other company as well.
Or maybe our competitor, this lithium dick or lithium,
Yeah,
whatever. LD
yeah,
we can say in the short form. LD will take over Rotomyne.
probably because even the debt to this gearing ratio, right, is just 25% for them, and for us it's double.
Right, right.
Yeah, and then even the dividend payout is also less, like 50%, and then we have paid more, 90%.
Or maybe because of, I mean, that definitely makes sense. There's an opportunity of takeover, especially for this competitor itself. But one reason for us, maybe we have paid just to keep the shareholders happy as the share price is going down. So we need at least something to keep them, content, something to keep them trusting us. But the problem is how much we'll pay next year. Is it a one-off dividend? One-off dividend is like we just pay for 1 year and then we'll come back to normal. Or was it kind of sustain? We want to try something similar to that.
So Misbah, instead of paying dividend, right, I think they could have done a buyback of the shares.
Shares buyback, yes, that would have been a better option
Better option.
because that
Yes.
would have make the share also go up, or at least earning per share would have improved.
Yeah.
Earning per share, dividend per share, because when you pay dividend, you'll have less shareholders then. So financially, our competitor looks better than us. So there is a question which can come on dividend also, and we have discussed dividend policy. We'll do a question also on that. Then translation risk is actually, as we discussed, is more of on paper. It won't affect the profit as such, but maybe it can affect the remuneration, everything of the employees if they are depend on that. Because as per IFRS, for translation, we have to take a closing uh, closing day, or closing time conversion rate. It can be fluctuating, and I believe it is same for our competitors also. Yes, they've also seen that. So clear so far. We just need to focus on the revenue and operating cost, why it is coming on. We need to find out the other areas. Why? Because there is a lot of gap. They have given in a very small format. There are three areas that is very important for us from financial strategy, and all three are interlinked. That is financing, investment, and dividend. So for financing, the most important is gearing. So we have already touched the gearing, which is so-called secure, that is 50%. Then dividend we are paying around 90%. And for financing, sorry, for investment, we don't know what kind of investment we need to do. There is a possibility we need to do some investment, or maybe some merger or some acquisition, at least strategic plans to get our revenue up. And what is the source for finance then? Again, same thing. Can we do rights issue? The problem with rights issue is again the share price will go down. It will be very interesting what kind of financing mode we'll use. Okay. Now coming back to the financial position, or we can call it balance sheet. So PPE has gone down a little bit, property, plant and equipment. And again, this might be due to we have sell it off a little bit, or it's a revaluation. Usually it goes up or it remains the same. Again, that's the problem. Maybe equipment we have kind of depreciated, like that. Goodwill remain the same. Goodwill is very important in this kind of business. Another intangible asset, that's a good thing. Intangible means licenses, what we are getting, patents. So one good thing, at least some spark I am seeing here, is the intangible asset. Because when we are investing so much, let's say we have done 10 R&D, so at least one or two of them have been successful. So that is being shown in the other intangible asset. That's a good increase in the intangible asset. And if you just compare to the competitors, they have also seen. So it looks like a lot of things are going similar to them. However, their property, plant and equipment has gone up. Let's see if they have taken any loan for that. No, they have not taken any borrowing. Their borrowing is remain the same, and their borrowing is quite less than us. But their property, plant and equipment has gone up. Yes, Sham.
So will depreciation policy have an effect here? Because there is a reduction in property, plant and equipment. So probably our assets are depreciating more compared to competitor. And that could be one of the reason, right? So where why our operating costs are even low. Sorry, but that's PBIT, right? But there is no mention of depreciation in the P&L.
Right. They have not mentioned, but I'm just assuming it.
Hmm.
But can you change depreciation policy every year, the same assets, or we have to
I
follow?
mean, it's not completely on the business, because there is a government thing also that comes in.
Otherwise,
No,
sorry, fine.
no, it's fine, Shyam.
Sorry. No, what I was thinking is probably the competitor would have done a revaluation of their asset.
Yes, that may be one of the case. Or maybe they have acquired. They're financially
Hmm.
better. So they might have acquired. They have used their retained earnings. Then current asset inventory has gone down a little bit. So usually it is considered good for the manufacturing business, but obviously it depends. Sometimes in this, especially if you are able to maintain the inventory, you have to look at the cost and everything, and the supply and demand. Trade receivables, trade receivables has gone down. That is better for the business. So working capital pattern will be easier. Cash at bank has gone up a little bit, but cash at bank is something which you can recommend for short term investment. But the problem is not that big. So we need to have some good level of cash at bank, because if there is any issue with the working capital, that can be used. And I believe our competitors also has a similar kind, because you might have a similar expenses. When we are looking at the competitors, you just need to look for the understanding. Okay, in exam it's very rare that you will need their information. In fact, it is come down. Their cash at bank has come down. Maybe they have used this to buy some of the property, isn't it? There's a possibility. And for them also, inventory has gone up. And sometime we might just increase our inventory because of the expected demand. That is also another reason. So things will change according to the industry. Then equity share capital is worth 3,000. Okay. Currency reserve we just saw, it will go up and down. Then retained earnings, despite that it has gone up. Despite the profit has gone down, is a little bit up, but it should have been better. But we have paid a lot of dividends. It's okay. Then current liabilities have gone down. So one good thing we are doing is receivables are reducing, and the same time the payables are also reducing. We're trying to manage. Then tax liability has reduced. So what tax liability they are talking about here now, because they have already mentioned. So this can be indirect taxes which has been pending, or other regulations what we have to pay. So tax liability is still not done, and maybe we have to pay in different countries. They have different closing year, so it may be slightly diverse. So it's okay, we don't need to go there in deep. Yes, fine.
Yeah, the currency reserve, why is come under the
Excuse me.
equity?
Sorry.
The currency reserve
Mm-hmm.
is coming under the equity. Why? This is the first time I'm seeing. I don't know. The currency reserve,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
is it minusing from equity?
Because that's what we did. No statement of change of equity.
Okay, currency reserve also we can
Yes.
mention as a column here. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a format actually.
Okay. Is acceptable from IFRS format, right? This one we can
Yes.
put it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So if you just do some research, you'll get an idea. Which IFRS is it? Foreign exchange. IS 21 will talk about exchange rate. But anyways, that is part of that. Okay, so what we need to focus here is different ratios. More or less, we have to just focus on the specific ratios, and what is the positive side we are seeing from compared to last year and current year, and the lenders ratio, because we might there is a high chance we need lenders support for this year also, or immediate also, right? So obviously lenders will be looking at these numbers, our gearing, our profit, how we can manage that. Then the investor, the shareholders, how will manage the share price, and how will manage the dividend. Okay. And for the competitors, we don't need to worry much or remember anything from there. It's just for the comparison. You just focus on our numbers mostly. But this might help if they're coming for a joint venture or a merger or an acquisition. But the probability can be low of them acquiring us because we are from the same country. So it's kind of monopoly kind of thing. Because there are 4 companies who have more than 50%. If two of us are coming together, maybe we'll have more than 25% of the share. But considering the diverse nature, the competition authority might allow as well. Maybe. It's either way. Okay. Their tax liability has also come down. Anyway, so what you do now, you just focus on the specific ratios. If you go through this familiarity kit, there also they have mentioned. So focus on 3 ratios. Even in F3 first chapter, we have that ratio: investors ratio, lenders ratio, different stakeholders, and that ratio. We don't have information to calculate all ratios. Like we don't know how much is the earning per share. We don't know what is the share price. Sorry, we don't know number of shares, isn't it? But whatever you can basic, try to do it from there. Okay. Why it is important? Because it will give us an idea and understanding of the financials, and we can use this as a justification point. Like if you're recommending to go with the debt over equity, so you can say, the share price is already going down and we have to pay higher dividend to maintain the share holders happy. If you do rights issue, the share price might go down. It's better to go with dividend because we have collaterals to give. Though it is 50%, but still we have to. Comparatively, that looks a better option. If you just say going with the gearing, and if you say with the percentage and explanation, that justification will give you more marks. Does it make sense?
Yes, Mr.
So until we connect tomorrow, just one more thing to do this ratios, and you have a support from the familiarity kit also. It will not take more than 10 to 15 minutes. So when we join tomorrow, we'll quickly discuss that. Then we'll go into the risk part. So it's just exactly 1 month for the exam, so we need to be quick. Okay, any questions? All right, then that's it for today. Thank you for waiting for